How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow?
Unique New York. Unique New York. I was just watching the Hot Ones episode with Will Ferrell, and he was talking about how Anchorman was originally supposed to be about a group of anchor people whose plane uh, uh, fell from the sky in like
Crash.
in a land where there were like little ninjas with like ninja stars, and it was like a battle movie. And Hollywood said no, and they turned Anchorman into obviously the classic that we all know and love. So I thought that
I,
was an
I
interesting
kind of
story.
wish the second one was more like that because I think it would have been a little bit better than what it was.
Dude,
I
when
wanted, to,
when
I wanted it
Channel
to be better.
6 and Channel 4 met face to face in the alleyway, um that was one of the most epic scenes in comedy I think I've ever witnessed. The
That was
battle
great. You're
scene.
talking about the first
I'm
one.
talking about the first one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Second one was horrible.
Yeah, I don't even like I've seen it. I just don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, you know what I mean?
I took the boys to go watch it, and we were all just kind of disappointed. I remember just kind of like looking. Jackson was like in high school at the time. We were just looking at each other like, I want this to be good.
I watch like, I have like YouTube movies on during the day when I work. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Wandering Home podcast. This is where Tyler tells you all about his work habits. So I have 3 screens in front of me, and on the right is like my laptop. And sometimes instead of playing music, it's easier for me to like put a movie on. I don't know, because I think the pace is slower and I can like kind of keep up with the storyline without having to listen to everything. So I'll have like a movie to my right and, doing all this like super nerdy stuff over to my left on those screens. And the other day, Old School came on, like a YouTube free video,
Great one.
and like it just auto played, and I paused it for a second and I looked at it and I thought to myself, I've seen that a million times. And then I just went ahead and hit play and let it ride for the whole hour and 48 minutes, because what are you going to do?
It's a great one.
If somebody hands it to you on a platter, you just let it play, man.
Hey, we're 2 minutes in. Let's hit the intro.
Okay. How do you want to do it?
Just count it down.
1, 2, 3. Bwah, bwah, bwah. Talking about faith in all of its different forms and facets. And
There's a saying that every saint has a past, but that means that every sinner has a future.
that's actually what it sounds like.
Wah, 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 wah. Yep.
One day we should do like hot new hip hop tracks. Like we have like this guy Big X the Plug is really big right now, and he's got a
Yeah.
song
Gang
called like
gang.
Don't Mess With. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was just like Tyler hit the intro, and then it's just like Big X the Plug.
There's this Prof guy. I think his name's Prof. I think
Yeah,
I sent you.
you
Did I
did.
send you? That
I've been
guy's
following
good.
him for some years, bro.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because one of the local rappers that I follow from Pensacola, who's also kind of a crazy dude, has been following Prof and like trying to get on tracks with him for years. So like I've kind of been like low key following.
Yeah, he was good. There's another guy named Easy Mill. He's a Filipino guy, man. He's awesome. There's some good stuff out there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about today. So I'm glad we already introed, but just really quick, I think there's reason for us to kind of give a little bit of a shout out, an homage even, to what we've been up to over the last, I guess it's been about 6 months now. And I want to spend a lot of our time today talking about kind of what's been going on recently, right? So 6 months ago, even more than that, even like 10 months ago, we decided like, hey, let's maybe start doing this podcast, right? And I don't even remember what the original thought was, but I think it's always been, kind of like this faith in redemption, like almost like barstool talk, normal dudes talking faith. It's kind of the way that I've always looked at it. Regardless of your vision, even though I consider you to be the founder.
Doesn't matter what you think.
So anyway, like go ahead.
Well, yeah, you're definitely right, but I think at the beginning of it, it started as really I started a blog, and it was mainly like a public confession because, I had failed in such a public way, but I never admitted the wrong that I'd done publicly. And I don't know, something in me was like, just write it down and just put it out. And, almost like an apology to, the people that I'd hurt along the way. And, just taking ownership of it. And through that, it was definitely healing. But then a lot of people started responding that I didn't think would respond in a very positive way. And so then next thing you know, people are reading it, and I'm like, you know what? This might be good, not just for me, but it might be good for other people to
Yeah.
think about what faith, redemption, failure and redemption look like.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think it did start off being like very how do you say, like exact match, in the fact that like you wanted to talk to people who had been through similar circumstances, like where there was kind of like a rise and fall, or like a public, almost, I mean, for lack of a better term, just some kind of moment of disgrace, and then this comeback to it. And I think that what we've done over the last 6 months is really take it a little broader than that, which has been a lot of fun.
yeah, it has been. It has
Um,
been.
and
Well,
it's
and you've been
morphed
my
into a
boy
whole
through it
website.
all,
Yeah, I mean, well,
you know,
kind of.
through it all. And I think that's the good thing too, is to see friendship through things. You know what I mean? Like just, um, and then, and now we're kind of still talking, even though we're on two, you know, faith journeys, we're on two different paths. Um, you know, both in
I'm not
a,
Catholic. Yeah,
no, you're not Catholic. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
You're a
yeah,
Protestant. And still searching those things out. And I'm kind of like planted right in
yeah,
Catholicism, but you still open the dialogue. You know what I mean? Because
yeah. I think
we're
it's cool just to
bros.
have regular conversations as regular people. Um, but I think that for the sake of it, for those listening, Mr. Producer, please highlight on the bottom all of the things that we've done in the last 6 months. So there's a website, thewanderinghome.com. I think there's got to be at least 70 posts on the blog.
Yeah, there's over 100, I think now.
Over 100 posts on the blog. For I think when we started, it's like, oh, let's get a podcast thing going, let's record it, let's put it on YouTube, and now it's kind of like full scale production. I actually showed it to my buddy today, and I was like, well, I'm gonna do a podcast recording tonight, and he was like, oh, cool, tell me about it later. That sounds like fun. And I was like, yeah, this is the podcast, and I sent him the link, and he was like, oh, dude, you're really doing this. I was like, yeah, kind of. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, that brings me to the topic of today, which is, I think, a little bit about the direction that you've been going, and your recently kind of posting in, like, writing about Catholicism a lot, posting in subreddits, Facebook communities. Like, why don't you just like take me through that a little bit, because even you and I haven't really like talked through that yet.
Yeah, so, like I was Southern Baptist, and then also part of the EFCA church, and was a Reformed guy,
What's the
from
EFCA?
Evangelical Free Church of America. But it's, Wayne Grudem is a big guy in that. D.A. Carson those are like if preachers are listening, they would know who those guys are.
Yeah, I've heard of
Um,
D.A. Carson.
but I was a big Reformed dude. Started questioning. Well, to be honest with you, once I stepped out of ministry, it gave me an opportunity to kind of reevaluate my faith, and I wouldn't say I went through deconstruction because it actually brought me to Catholicism. So it wasn't like I was deconstructing my faith, but anyways, through just a long journey, wound up becoming Catholic. And through that, obviously, man, I mean, I've got a library of probably, I don't know, 1,000 books. I mean,
Many leather-bound books.
many leather bound books, just because over the years, just, I mean, my favorite guys were John Piper, Wayne Grudem, D.A. Carson, Tim Keller, like all of the Reformed guys, Kevin DeYoung. I mean, just those were my guys. And so I was probably reading, devouring their books and reading everything that they were coming out with. So when I started going um, down the path of Catholicism, started reading early church writers and started reading a lot more on church history, pre 1500s. And then I started reevaluating a lot of the books that I had. So I didn't like throw away my Protestant books. I actually went back to my Protestant books and started reading them. Anyway, not to geek out on you, but that's what my writing has been about recently. And I actually wrote a book entitled Common Protestant Objections to Catholic Doctrine. It's kind of a long title, but
No.
it
The long title gives it authority in the space. Actually, when I looked at it and I read it, I was like, yeah, this is something where, for example, if I was looking for a book to reference when I was writing a college paper, I'd be like, this is probably one that's legit.
well, I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy in the room by a long shot, but I have I have been reading for years. Specifically, so I'm in this weird bubble where I've been obviously reformed, and I mean, Wayne Grudem's Systematic Theology was always a reference book for me, and constantly going back to it. And
The worst, dude. The
yeah,
worst.
and so now coming out of that is I basically had two sides, two minds inside my head, and so going at theology now from a Protestant and a Catholic, like how a Reformed Protestant would view and how a Catholic would view a doctrine. And so that's really what the book is. You know, I I started looking at a lot of the objections that many of the guys had, and also just some false statements. I mean, there's some legitimately false statements in some of the books that I used to read, and so that was kind of eye opening to me. Like, whoa, wait a minute, we're not like just saying we disagree with this, but we're actually making a fault. And our example of that was in Grudem's Systematic Theology. He claimed that Catholics believed that the Eucharist, that the Mass, is a re-crucifying of Christ every time, every Mass, and that's not the case.
They
Not
used
the
to say
case at
that to
all.
me when I was a kid.
Do I?
I remember people saying it to me kind of just like that as a kid.
Yeah, and it's not true. It's not true at all. It's a representing of something that happened, and we've talked about that in another podcast, but that was eye-opening to me. Like, wait a minute, like, we're not even seeking to understand. We're actually just making a statement of what somebody believes rather than asking them what they believe. You know what I mean? So I saw a lot of that going on, and so I was like, you know what? If I was a reformed guy and I wanted to understand Catholic doctrine, I would, what kind of book would I want? And if I was a Catholic, which I am now, but if I was a Catholic that didn't know anything about Protestant theology, what what would be the book that would help bridge that gap?
Yeah.
And I hope that's what I did in writing it.
You know what's crazy to me is when you just made that statement, like the idea of somebody not having an understanding of Protestant theology like does not compute in my head. It's almost like I default to everybody has an understanding of Protestant theology.
They
when
they
I don't
don't.
realize that like Protestant theology is like the offshoot,
Well,
really, right?
yeah,
I
when
mean,
you
it's
think
the rookie
about
on the block, right?
when you think about globally, absolutely. Um, and then when you think about all the different versions of Protestant theology,
Yeah, right,
you
right,
know,
right.
yeah, it's kind of the offshoot, absolutely. And so that's what I'm hoping in the book. One thing that I'm going to do with it is I'm going to offer it for free first, um, in a weekly blog. So starting next week, I'm going to post blogs that ultimately will be a chapter a week. Um, so where if you want to follow for 12 weeks, you can read the blog.
Yeah.
If you want a copy of it, a hard copy, it is published on Amazon. You go to Amazon, get a hard copy or get a digital copy. I think the hard copy's like $20 and the digital copy's like 10.
So let's walk that back a little bit. So about a week ago, like any podcast founder and writer, you're trying to find, community somewhere to kind of share this stuff, see if what you're writing is a good idea, crowdsource maybe some ideas, that sort of thing. So you go to Reddit, right? So what did you post and like how did you present that post? Because it got a ton of shares and a ton of
Yeah.
people to the website, right? So like tell us a little bit about that. Like what do you think's behind it?
Yeah. So I was, you know, searching how to become Catholic had risen. I saw it on Google, had risen like 30% on Google, since Pope Leo has,
Yeah.
was announced. And so I was like, man, this would be a good opportunity to kind of walk through the steps of what it looks like to become Catholic, what somebody
Mhm.
can expect. So I wrote just a article of just steps of how to become Catholic, what you could do, what you need to do to become Catholic. And I posted it multiple different places, Facebook, Reddit, and it got a bunch of views. But where it got like a ton of views was on Reddit, on a Catholic Reddit. It got like 400,000 views, like in between 400 and 500,000 views, and like thousands and thousands of shares. Um,
That was a very, very popular um subreddit. I mean, there's just so much engagement.
yeah, it was insane. I was actually shocked. It happened like overnight. But not only that, but they were engaged in the post too. So next thing you know, like thousands of people are coming to our website.
Yeah. Do you have a
Just
link to the
over.
post? Maybe we can the reason I'm asking is because like in the show notes, maybe we can just make a link to the post since we're referencing it. Because people might be interested in the comments, like what's
Yeah,
going
absolutely.
on in the conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, so we, posted there, and I was like, man, this is really kind of taken off. And ironically, it was right around the time that I'd already, I'd already written the book. Um, and I was thinking about putting it, um, you were actually had the idea of putting it in a blog form because, you know, I'm not really about like selling stuff. You know what I mean? Like, as far as like ideas and books and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
but it is good to, um, kind of the idea that we want, the ultimate vision of this is to, fund the podcast, get it better, get the production better, but also help, guys that were in the boat that I was in that were working in rescue missions and helping those who are in addiction recovery. Not necessarily those that are facing addiction, but those who are helping those who face addiction to make sure that they're getting the counseling that they need because they're
Mm,
handling a lot. So, um, hoping by the book sales, and we'll talk about our merch in just a minute, but that's what it is. That's what it's fueling that. We ultimately want to give, guys.
man, that would be cool. Like I don't want to say it almost feels like I feel like calling it a first responder because like so much of that kind of work is like on the front lines. And I don't know exactly how we would find like an association or a group where it's like just people who are working in the front lines of addiction. But like, there's a lot of charities that are for teachers. Like we raise money so that teachers can come in and like grab pencils and stuff like that for free. But instead, what we want to do is like help people who are on the front lines of kind of like addiction and recovery to, have more resources or do this or that.
Well, and
That would
that's
be
our
that's
goal.
a neat
Like
idea.
any
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
finding it it's harder than it's niched down. I think it's super cool. Like I think that's a really neat mission to like have merchandise and books, to help funding that. I think that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so 50% of, everything that we sell on that store, if somebody goes and buys a t-shirt or buys a cup or whatever, 50% of that will go to, we still got boys that are in that. You know what I mean? We still got the Adam Caseys and
Hmm.
the Morgan Foxes and all those that we were with that are still in that world. So we definitely want to make sure that they're all right and getting the counseling that they need. And then across, I don't want to just do this in our area. I don't want to just do this in Alabama, but begin to reach out and make sure that those across, if it gets big enough, so make sure that everybody's taken care of, that's helping, because people who are helping addicts and helping the homeless, man, they go through a lot.
Just the amount of emotional trauma that you can go through between an 8 a.m. cup of coffee and an 11:30 lunch when you're in that business is probably too much for somebody to really
It's brutal.
fathom.
Yeah, I think the only people that like can understand it would be like first respond, it'd be police and uh,
Yeah.
firemen. I mean, we saw them every day. I mean, those were the people, the EMTs. They were the guys that we, saw every day. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the
Uh,
goal, man.
well, I think speaking of that, and this isn't a shameless plug because well, it's just a plug, shame or no shame, I don't really care. You talked about the store, we're talking about it, and I think that what I want to do is share my screen a little bit and just talk through some of this. But I think we have the first one's always a classic, the St. Michael Hodene shirt that was created that you and I both have hard copies of, which I think is just super super dope. I'm gonna share my screen because we might be able to get a screenshot here of the promo. So you come over here, you go to your browser and you type in thewanderinghome.com and it takes you to a place like this that says the Wandering Home Podcast and it has a beautiful picture of Kevin. Not so
Those are some
flattering
beautiful
of
guys.
me. Yeah. Um, and then you go into the corner store, which I love the name, and I've got a super cool picture that I can share to help us update that. But we look over here, we have the St. Michael Hodney shirt, which is a personal favorite of mine. And then over here you have He Stinketh from, what is that, John 11:9, right? Like just kind of funny, humorous shirts, but kind of, how do you say, faith oriented, or they ride the line, right? Because
Yeah,
for those who are listening, right, Saint Michael Hodney, if you haven't listened to the episode that we dropped, I won't tell you his backstory, but this guy's like smoking it. He just like took his hat off. He's got a cross medallion that's the entire size of his torso, and he's got a cigarette, hanging out of his mouth, and low key he's just like saying a prayer because he's about to be decapitated in real life, but we put it on the shirt before it happens. um but then there's some really cool ones that I think are like kind of standard faith ones that people would like even in the wilderness he speaks, I think is a really cool one, but it doesn't hit the same as like Michael Hodney smoking a cigarette, or like this kind of funny vibe, which is like the He Stinketh. I just think that you've done, and I've got to give you a lot of credit for like coming up with these really cool ideas. You think Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball? Come on.
that's one of my favorite.
I've got to buy it. I know that I think we can get it in different colors.
Oh yeah,
I personally am like a navy blue and a white or something like that, but I love that quote. I mean, Major League's a classic,
one
and
of my
you can
favorites.
wear this anywhere. You could wear that to Disney World, and people would laugh at your shirt. you know?
You can wear it to church, you
Yeah, you
know?
can wear it to church. I love this shirt that I would definitely wear to church, which is I'm in my mom's prayer group.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like number one, dude, for like, well, I guess, man, it's pretty much a tie. Um, that is such a cool shirt. Like that I want to wear to like a coffee shop, one day, and people will say, "Oh my god, that guy is." So anyway, a lot of cool stuff there. There's obviously the book. This is a plug. WanderingHome.com, where you can see 100 plus blogs from the man himself. You can shop at a store and know that not only are you getting a dope ass t-shirt, but your money's going to a really good cause. And you can
And
even
the
just
book
make a donation, which is really, something that is there to think about, right? Everything, every single half of every penny that comes in, no matter where it comes in from, is going to go toward those missions. So I think it's really cool.
yeah. The book is now on the homepage. It's got a link to Amazon.
I think that we should do like your book, which I know is a more formal and then do like I guess I'm asking you to write two books, but like a less formal gangster version where we can have like some
I like
like
that.
where it opens up and the cover looks like The Godfather or like something like that, and
Gang
it's
gang.
like a barstool footnote version of the 12 arguments against Protestant, however you want to talk about it.
I like that. I think we could definitely do that.
Yeah, I
Just
think.
translate it into a more urban style.
Yeah, I mean urban, whatever. Just um I imagine, now I haven't read your book, but you can get pretty I imagine it's scholarly.
I
You know what
try
I
not
mean?
to be, but yeah, I
Yeah.
imagine it is.
Yeah. So, it's scholarly. That's cool. I think, you and I kind of hit somewhere in this middle line between scholarly and not very scholarly at all. And basically what I'm trying to say is you can write like that, but I don't necessarily talk in that language. And I think that part of what we're trying to do is make like, I don't know, I don't want to say accessibility, but something that's palatable for the most amount of uh, people that we can.
Well, I think theology too. If it's never like grounded, if you can't have if a theological conversation can't be had in a bar, what's it? I mean, who's it reaching? You know what I mean? If it's just for like
Yeah.
papers and stuff like that, man, it's got to get to the people. It's got to get to the normal people. Like a guy smoking crack. That is. People used to like. I used to talk a little bit rougher, at the mission, and people would be like, "Why do you talk like that? Like, what? Why?" And I'd say that guy just slept. The guy sitting in the pew in front of me just slept with a prostitute the night before. He is not going to hear me if I come at him, with this like high church context, and so it's
What
just
used
what
to
it
really
is,
get
man.
people for me was when they would tell me about them smoking crack, and then I would tell them about me smoking crack, and then that would fuck them up. They'd be like, "Whoa, yeah, man." Then that's a humdinger.
And
I,
there
I
we go.
I think that we should. I think that what we should do is we should get your book should be like like when you go to a Marriott and you open the bedside drawer and there's
Yeah.
like a little Bible.
Yep.
What we should do is like there's like parishes and stuff like that in Alabama. What we should do is we should like get little ones and get them in these get them in these I guess
That's what
they're
I'm
all
talking about.
parishes or what, you know what I'm talking about?
That's what I'm
And
talking about. Like like the
yeah.
side drawer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
We
read a
could,
couple verses.
yeah, we could replace take the Book of Mormon out and put our book.
Crazy. So what are we gonna do? So what now? What now? Because we've been through pretty much all of the talking points for this episode. Do you want to give us an idea of where you're going? I mean, not that we haven't talked about where we're going next, but is there anything that you're writing about or thinking about over the last few days? And I think we can leave that maybe as a teaser going into the next episode where we'll kind of get back into like the routine of going through some of the content and talking through
You
time.
were talking about like going like writing another version that's more in the dirt. I think what'd be really cool is taking, the next 12 weeks I'm going to be blogging that material from the book. But what we'll do on the podcast is bring it down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
just
sure.
kind of just just a earthy style,
Hmm.
two bros talking about things, and almost like drunk history, you know.
I can't wait for the day where we were able to produce something that's like junk history. That would be so cool. I don't know how we get there, but anyway,
What would be an awesome episode of Drunk History? Martin Luther thought that his farts like kept away the devil. That dude, that would be a great episode.
so stay tuned, everybody, for the next episode of the Wandering Home podcast, where we talk about Martin Luther's farts.
They got to be nasty, bro. Like if you think that your farts are keeping away Satan, dude, somebody, what is he eating, man? What was he eating?
Well, Kevin, you've been all the way up the mountain. You're looking down the crack of the famous parts of Doom. Now there's nothing else left for us to do except for to roll out the red carpet for you. This camera, this camera, this camera. Tell the people what you have going on in your life.
Oh, man.
That's my favorite outro. It's from
Yeah,
Hot Ones. I took it straight out of Hot Ones, but I just love that outro.
I love it, man.
All right. Well,
Well,
let's say
bro,
goodbye to everybody and tell them to stick around.
all right.
Tell the people from Reddit that you're happy that they're here and all that kind of stuff. Or do you just want to put it in the show notes?
Yeah, I'm happy you're here.
Thanks everybody from Reddit. Stick around.
Yeah, everybody from Reddit, keep liking my stuff, man. I
Do
appreciate it.
it
Much
when I
love.
come
Much love.
around. All right. Happy summer. Bye.
See.